Oh, these were the 3 letters, and then we got 1 email, and I think that's it, right?
4 total.
Okay. Okay,
And the one was the one you knew about, that you said.
yeah, he sent the email.
Write it.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, it is 6:30, and it is September 13th, Monday. This is the regular meeting of the East Bay Township Board. We'll go ahead and get started, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ann, would you start with the roll call attendance, please?
Sure. Bartlett.
Yes.
Suzanne Cortade.
Here.
Matt Cortade.
Here.
Lyle.
Here.
Walters.
Present.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Present.
Okay, great, thank you. And let's see, the agenda is in front of you. We have regular consent calendar with a couple items on it. And business before the Township Board, we have 2 special assessment districts for roads, which is Land's End and Raven Lane, and then Timber Hill. We also have a public hearing on the emergency services millages for police, fire, and medical. Public hearing on an ordinance granting franchise to Traverse City Light and Power, a site plan review for Holiday Forest 2, and a brine application. So with that, I'm not seeking to add or delete anything, but I would like to move the public hearing for the ordinance granting the franchise to Traverse City Light and Power to the first item on the agenda, just due to some scheduling. So if we could move that item to number 1, and we'll just have the rest below it. Is there anything anyone would like added or removed to the agenda, or by consensus? Are we all okay with the agenda? Okay, yeah.
I would like to take item 8B and 8D.
Oh, yeah, we'll take that off when we do the consent calendar.
okay, sorry.
Yep, nope, that's okay, perfect. So we'll move forward then with the agenda as presented, noting that change in the order. With that, we will move on. Is there any conflict of interest with anything that we stated is on the agenda? Okay, saying none. We'll move on to public comment. This is an opportunity for public comment for a resident to speak to the board and let us hear your perspective. Now, we do have opportunities for comment during specifically the public hearing on Land's End and Raven Lane, Timber Hill, the emergency services, and the ordinance granting the franchise. So if you're commenting during those, it'd be probably best to hold your comment till we open that public hearing. So anything else or any other agenda item, welcome to come up and introduce yourself and speak to the Board of Trustees. Okay, seeing no public comment, we will move forward with the agenda, the correspondence and reports. You notice that you have training in your packet. We're really happy to be able to bring this training in conjunction with the local chapter of MTA and East Bay Township, and with PAR Plan grant, bring this to all the officials in Grand Traverse County. And what it has to do with is a risk management training for local officials. So that's September 28th, and you can just email or get in touch with Claire Carner to RSVP. So hope to see as many people there. You can attend in person, and you can also attend online too. So we'll have a way that you can ask questions if you attend from home as well. So. And then you have the treasurer's report. I believe that's the July treasurer's report, correct? And And then, I think that's all we have in correspondence and reports. So with that, then we'll move to the consent agenda. And on that consent agenda, we'll have Ann go over, and then Matt, you'll have an opportunity to remove those items. So Ann, if you would, go over the consent agenda item.
The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent agenda, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. This evening, you have the board minutes of August 9th, 2021, regular meeting. From the general fund, check numbers 16440 through 16518, with check number 16330 previously approved for the amount of $74,720.41. In the emergency fund, check numbers 4741 through 4768, in the amount of $13,546.16. The receiving fund, check numbers 2817 through 2823, in the amount of $132,125.23. The escrow fund, check numbers 1757 through 1763, the amount of $4,876.21. There were two payrolls, August 1st through August 14th, check numbers 7231 through 7236, total $47,513.08. And the payroll from the August 15th through August 28th, check number 7237 through 7244, totaled $51,002.15. Total payroll was $98,515.23, and total amount paid, $323,783.24. Item G is a proposed budget adjustment, BA 2021-14. And item H, other items, investment and depository resolution, Metro Act amended application, Grand Traverse County Road Commission contract, Alta Vista Developers Agreement, and the Northern Michigan Mountain Bike Association project.
Okay, so this is the opportunity for any board member to take anything off of the consent calendar that they would wish to do so. Matt, you mentioned which ones?
8B and D.
B and D. Okay, so we'll put B at the end after Brian. And if it's fine, we will put 8D after the Traverse City Light and Power as well. Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else removed or changed from the consent calendar?
No, but I didn't know what the resolution
Yeah.
number should be.
Thank you, Tracy. They started at 2021-17. And so item A, when that's approved, it'll be 2021-17. And there is no resolution for C and E that will go through with the consent calendar. Okay, is there any member of the public wishing to remove anything from the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, we'll return that to the board. And is there a motion presented, made by any board member? Don't everybody hurry now.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as adjusted.
Support.
Okay, motion made by Bartlett and supported by Walters. Any further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote, Ann.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
M. Cortade,
Yes.
S. Cortade,
Yes.
Lyle, Cook,
Yes.
and Friend.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. With that, we'll move to the business before the Township Board, and then we have adjusted the order. So at first, we will be talking about the Ordinance 1 of 2021, which is the ordinance granting franchise to Traverse City Light and Power. And with that, in your packet, you have a brief overview. You have a notice, the public notice of the proposed ordinance, the ordinance itself, and also the attachment A. The potential motion is move to approve the ordinance 2021 Charter Township of East Bay ordinance granting franchise to Traverse City Light and Power Department to transact local business for a period of 30 years. So this ordinance has been introduced last month, as charter townships do in August, and then it was noticed in the paper, and then it's before us for deliberation. I do believe, too, there was an email in here. I may have forgot to note that on the attachments. Did anyone notice, is there an email in here between, might not have had that in there. Thought there was an email in there between Tim Aarons and I, but, okay. With that, we do have Carrie Zeitz here, who could do a brief overview of the ordinance. Carrie, would you mind coming up and visiting with us? You're welcome to sit at the table or stand at the podium, whatever's most comfortable for you.
Thank you, Carrie Zeitz, representing Traverse City Light and Power. Thanks for the accommodation in moving this matter up in your agenda. Brief overview, the proposed ordinance is basically a renewal of the existing franchise ordinance that was adopted or enacted by the township 30 years ago. It is a revocable franchise ordinance, meaning that the township can revoke it at any time upon certain notice, and it is for a period of 30 years. And it's for the locations in which Traverse City Light and Power provides utility service within the township. Currently, it is not a request to expand any of the area. It does add, as one of the utility services that may be provided in the event that Light and Power expands its fiber to the premises project into East Bay Township sometime in the next 30 years. It would allow for us to serve our utility, the Light and Power's utility customers with that fiber to the premises if they want to take advantage of that. And that's the summary of the ordinance.
Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. And so if you can just stay there in case any board members have any questions for you, that'd be great, Carrie, thank you. So it's 6:41 and we'll open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on the franchise to Traverse City Light and Power? It's a riveting topic. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring that back to the board. And does anybody have any questions or comments on the franchise ordinance?
Just one quick comment. It says here and I know this is a renewal, but I guess this is 2021 now, so maybe technology's changed a little bit. So I guess this is item D. Under 7D, says this provision shall not apply to lines, equipment, or facilities installed on existing poles or poles. Basically, it states that there's a requirement for a notification of construction of facilities
Right.
to the township board. So my question is, in a scenario where you've got existing infrastructure poles, would these be potential opportunities for 5G equipment that
Oh, yeah.
Traverse City Light would lease out space on those poles?
Yeah, under the new legislation, the name escapes me right now, but we are required to provide space on our poles for telecommunication facilities such as the new 5G if requested.
Okay.
And they would also, they also need to comply with the Metro Act, so they'd have to apply to the township too. So they'd have to get a permit from the township for installing their facilities on our poles and then a pole attachment agreement from Light and Power.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question was around the language, and it's just pretty vague. It says the provision, that requirement for a permit would not apply to lines, equipment, or facilities installed on existing poles.
Yes, necessary for service drops. So that's like if we extend service from the existing poles and lines.
Okay.
So it would be no additional equipment, just like it's the service line from the pole to the residence or commercial use.
Okay.
Okay, with that, any other questions? Or is there a motion specific to the ordinance? And that is ordinance number 1 of 2021. Okay, I will make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-1, or 1 of 2021, Charter Township of East Bay granting franchise to Traverse City Light and Power Department to transact local business for a period of 30 years. Is there a second? Okay, motion is made by Friend and supported by Walters. We'll do a roll call vote, Ann?
Friend?
Yes?
Walters?
Yes.
M. Cortade?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
S. Cortade?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Did I call Bartlett? Bartlett.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Carrie, I appreciate it. All right, with that, we will move on to, Alta Vista, to the Alta Vista Developers Agreement. We do have Mark McKellar here with us as well, representing the developer, and R.C. Herman, the developer, is here as well. You will find this information in your packet under the consent calendar 8D. Which was added late, so it is added under the subsequent packet, the last item. So what you have in this packet is a brief overview, and the attachments are the development agreement as proposed, an email exchange between Mark McKellar and I regarding Alta Vista, and a motion to approve the development agreement, and then further authorize the Director of Planning and Zoning and the Township Engineer to agree and discuss the road commitments that Mark mentioned in the emails. So developers agreement we've done with a couple developments, Bayview Development, also some apartments on South Airport Road. And basically, these are pretty much done in light of the fact that we're doing a water and sewer rate analysis. And if those change within a specific period of time, that the developer would be able to avail themselves of those change in rates. And it is specified in here under number 3 that that would be within 18 months. And then, let me go to the other items that I mentioned that Claire and Brian could enter into an agreement with is regarding the road connection at Vanderlip Road and Creekview Lane, as well as the paving phasing. They're obviously very familiar with the ordinances and what's been passed through the Planning Commission and so forth. But any comments or questions regarding those? And first, I guess, before we go to those comments or questions, I'll just ask Mark if he'd like to come up. If there's anything else you want to add as an overview, you're welcome to.
Sure. Just the basic reason why you're seeing this agreement and the particular 2 items, the paving, phasing, and connection at Vanderlip, are that unlike any other land use approval in a township, mobile home parks don't require full land use approval from the municipality. It's just a preliminary review, and then it's sent to the state. So these are things that the state can approve or not approve, but we were looking at trying to work with the local fire and Metro Fire and the knockbox and the creation of paving and phasing it out differently than the state would allow us to do it. Essentially, it's actually more aggressive than the state requires. So we're looking to enter into an agreement with that administratively, essentially. And the development agreement has the unique provision of allowing the township to require us to have a land use permit, which is also not required under the state law. But in fact, we will come to the township for a land use permit on an accessory building per lot and pay the benefit fees as we go. So that's baked into the agreement. I know this sounds disingenuous a little bit, but it really does benefit the township because you have more teeth in the ability to agree, and it provides a lot more predictability to both parties. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a short agreement. If anyone has questions, we're here to answer.
Yeah, and Glenn, you'll remember, this is developed a little bit different with the infrastructure than Wood Creek. Wood Creek is all that private infrastructure where it's just billed to one. This is different. There will be public infrastructure through it, and that's why it's a lot like a subdivision, and where each entity is approved as they're building it like a home. But again, as Mark said, that's not required. So again, as he mentioned, baked into this agreement, actually, I think it is in number 5, that they will get a land use permit for each of those because they'll put on an accessory structure. And so that'll will allow us to track that, gives us the mechanism that we need. So, go ahead.
So question with that, are they going to finance these fees? Because then if they're financing them and they're getting billed monthly, how do you track which parcel gets paid and doesn't?
So.
I'm thinking that would be a nightmare.
So I don't think you're financing them because they're not doing like the whole lot, like when Bayview did it, they paid like everything at once. So they're not, they're doing,
They're going
and
to do it as they.
exactly.
go.
And they've actually broken off the community building
Right.
for separate parcels, so,
remember.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. Glenn, did you have a question?
I was reading email from DPW, and it states in there that they divided this lot up, so they got 100-foot frontage on Hammond Road that they're paying the lateral fees to Center Ice. So there's no building going on from Hammond Road to Vanderlip Road past the 100-foot mark, is that correct?
There's no more, no. The lateral fees that you saw were only for that one section that was broken off. That's all they've gone for right now, is that community building. They separated those into different parcel numbers. So the calculation you saw from the DPW is only on that small parcel to do with the community building.
Okay, so the lines do not go across the rest of the frontage of that? I thought that they run east along Hammond Road, past that whole,
All I can tell you is that what they went for approval for to date, the community building, the DPW looks at that parcel and sees which lateral fees apply, and those are the only ones to date so far that they've needed to get for their permit. Anything else would come subsequent to that.
okay, I guess, maybe I didn't ask the right question, but within that 100 feet, and maybe Mark could say, within that 100-foot frontage, the only construction is gonna be the building out front there?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
The other question I had, and I guess it just is on the lockbox and the gated from Vanderlip.
And they'll take care of all of that with Claire and with, are you talking about on the road part? That's, yeah,
Okay,
Yep.
and that will be open within 7 years? Correct.
right.
Okay. That's the only questions I had.
And is that going to include, I know they mentioned Metro, but would that include allowing our ambulance to
Yeah.
have those codes too? Okay.
Yep. Indeed. Matt, did you have a question?
Yeah, so a couple of questions. One, the effective date, so it seems this is a 180-day agreement effective the day that this is executed by both parties. How does this align with the timing of other development agreements with other developments?
So most of the development agreements have been with respect to the rate analysis, and we've done them for 18 months from the time that they're signed. So,
But I guess the question is, I mean, this one's under construction right now. Other development agreements, have they been in place prior to groundbreaking, or do they typically align with when
Well-
planning commission's approved, or I mean, what's?
so right now, again, it's 2 parcels, and so while they have, I believe you have the land use permit on the community building, correct? But not, for the rest of it is just the earth movement permit. So the rest of it, did we have them typically? No, I think with both of the other 2 developer agreements, I can think of it was prior to, but likely after they were approved, obviously, at the planning commission.
Okay.
But they haven't started that work on the rest of it. It's just been the earth movement. They haven't gotten the land, any land use permits necessary.
Okay. So when would you envision, would there be another development agreement to go along with those, or is this preemptive of those?
Exactly.
Okay. So land use permits that are issued a year from now would have 6 months from that point?
Actually, the specific land use permits on the property owner would not fall under this. So if somebody paid $3,900 and $3,900 as a property owner, that doesn't fall under this agreement. This would be what RC pays and any benefits, correct?
Yeah, the 18 months is only, the agreement is binding and runs with the land forever, perpetuity. The $3,900 and the $3,900 are what have the 18-month timeline. We have 18 months from the effective date that if the township adopts a rate change in RUs within 18 months, then we have the right to capture anything that we paid above and beyond what the rate change is. So if the rate goes below 3,900 within 18 months of the effective agreement, or effective date, we can claw back, let's say it goes 36, we can claw back $300 that we've already paid. Everything going forward after that then becomes $3,600, and the rest of the terms of the agreement prevail beyond the 18 months. So 18 months is only related to the timeline that the township may change the rate. So, land use permit, there aren't any land use permits in mobile home parks. We get construction permits from LARA. So that is really unrelated. In this case, we're contracting for the accessory buildings. But those, they don't have any, there's no relationship to the land use permit and when we have to develop on the 18 months.
That's correct, but we are doing the land use permits for each individual site when they
That's right.
place. Yeah,
That's right, because we're going to have accessory buildings on every site.
right.
And we're going to pull a permit for those accessory buildings, and when we pull the permit for the accessory buildings, we're agreeing to pay the full benefit fee for that lot.
Whatever it is.
When that happens?
Whatever it is at that time, yep. Yep, exactly.
Okay. Okay, and I guess just the other question I had, Beth, is there were some comments, and I guess some of the correspondence, looks like from today with the applicant here. Did our legal counsel review the changes to this?
Yep, we've been in touch with legal counsel throughout this,
Sure.
process.
Okay.
Yep.
And that was my question as well, is had Peter signed off on the additional language that he initially put in, but the applicant took, or that Peter took out? the
Actually,
applicant
I
took
took
back in?
I took that out, and yes, we've been in touch with the entire time. This has been through several hands, I think you could say, right, Mark? Yes, it came out of a meeting with Mark and myself, and I think RC was there, and Brian Souza, and then a draft was, we gave them our other development agreements. Mark did a draft based on this development with those in mind. Then, once we received that, Claire, Brian Souza, Peter and I all met via Zoom, and then we put the document on a shared drive that we could all access. Claire went through, made her comments, Brian went through, made his comments, I went through, reviewed their comments and added mine, and then Peter took those into account, and then working with Mark back and forth. And the last things that were changed just over this weekend were actually there were 3 things that were inconsistent with the number of permits, and so that was changed. So any other questions, or is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the development agreement with Ultra Vista.
Okay, and can we add the part to further direct the Director of Planning and Zoning and Township or authorize them?
I didn't read the bottom of it. Yes, go ahead.
Authorize the Director of Planning and Zoning and the Township Engineer to enter into an agreement on behalf of the township related to the Alta Vista Road infrastructure based on ordinances and approval of the Planning Commission.
Exactly.
Okay, very
No, I
good.
said that.
I thought so. Okay, thank you. Motion made by Lyle and supported by Bartlett. Further discussion?
Yeah, is there a need or to put when it's the Director of Planning and Zoning in the Township engineer with consultation from an attorney if needed?
No, because they, trust me, the two people that have the ability to call him whenever they need to. So, yeah.
I just want to make sure that that
Yeah,
was.
and that's how we handle everything.
Okay, thank
You can ask Mark, we regularly involve our legal counsel to make sure we're on the straight and narrow, so.
Yeah, it's been pretty efficient. 'Cause we don't talk about things they haven't got approved. Talk about language that Peter's already done, so it actually makes it easier for everybody.
All right, any further questions? Okay, let's see, is this a resolution or is this just the agreement? This is just the agreement, so all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by no? Motion passes. Well, thank you very much, Mark and RC, for working on this with us. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll send an executed copy.
Absolutely, sounds good. Okay, with that, Tracy, keep me on you told me next time what I had in line here, so help me out here again. We're moving on to the special assessment districts for the roads. Okay, so we'll go back to 1A, and this will be it takes a village sometimes. We'll move on to the road special assessment districts for Lands End and Raven Lane. This is item 1 in your board packet. We have been working with residents on both Land's End and Raven Lane on trying to get together this road special assessment district. As the background tells you that this is a private road, they contacted us because they have had an SAD before and wanted to see if that could be done again for the improvement of the road. We have worked with them and Elmer's and Wade Trim, and they have filed the petitions. So there's a specific process. We're trying to do all of this, which is possible and legal, in all one meeting. Typically, as you know, we spread those hearings out. So we will do both public hearings today. They've been noticed that way. And but first, before the first public hearing, we would have to pass Resolution 1, which would be 2021-18. And that is on page 93 of your packet. And that first resolution initiates the SAD number 21-2 for roads. And then we would need to pass, before the first public hearing even, the second resolution, which would be 2021-19, and that would be the resolution establishing the public hearing on that 2021-2. So if we can get started with those two resolutions, are there any questions on those resolutions?
Can you do them in the same motion?
I wouldn't, because they're roll call vote with the resolution.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do them as separate resolutions. Is there, and again, this doesn't create, this gets us going for the public hearing. So the process is Resolution 1 and 2, the first public hearing, then Resolution 3, second public hearing, and then Resolution number 4. So is there a motion on Resolution 2021-18, which initiates the SAD?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-18, initiating the SAD 2021-2 roads for Land's End and Ravens Lane.
Support.
Okay, motion is made by Bartlett and supported by Escortade. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Ann, we'll do a roll call vote.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Escortade.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes. Okay, with that, we'll consider Resolution 2021-19. This establishes the first public hearing for tonight. Is there a motion regarding Resolution 2021-19? Okay. Motion by Lyle and support by Walters. We'll do further discussion. We'll do a roll call vote, Ann?
Uh,
Lyle.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Escortade.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will move to the first public hearing. This first public hearing is a hearing on the proposed project. Anybody who would like to comment on the Land's End Raven Lane potential special assessment district can do so. Just a little bit of review on it. It is, as I mentioned, a private road. The estimates that we have from Elmer's, plus the costs from the township, and just for the board to note that because this doesn't run through the County Road Commission, and we don't have a project manager on it, and I did talk with the Road Commission, and they were just too tapped out this summer, personnel-wise and fall, that to be able to oversee it. Wade Trim is able to do that, and they gave me a price of not likely. They went out and looked at the job. They estimated how long it would take, and if they were out there every day on the whole day for their number of days they estimate, they gave me a price of about less than $5,000. They don't anticipate they'll be needed there all day, every day. So we should be good on making sure that we're in line with those costs. We can structure this, as you'll see on page 91, just like our other SADs, over 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. If we do that over 15 years, we are looking at a cost of about $5,489.07 for the property owners. There are 22 properties that will be assessed on these two roads. So the two roads will be done in conjunction together, and all of those property owners will split that area being improved. So with that, it is 7:06, and we'll open the first public hearing on the Land's End Raven Lane Special Assessment District. Is there anybody here in the public who would like to make comment? Hello, sir, how are you? Would you introduce yourself, please?
Steve Perdue. I live at 4544 Land's End. I just have a couple of questions. Generally, I've been informed and supportive of this from the beginning. But my neighbors have put together a number of numbers on 2 or 3 different occasions, and none of them match the numbers that came out in the notice from the township. So you might have clarified one thing. The $7,700 that you mentioned is or that's noticed as a township cost and may reflect what you might have to pay the road commission, or I'm not sure what value added is that.
Sure.
That's baked into the 5489, is that correct?
Yes,
And this is based on a 15-year assessment?
it is currently.
And so you mentioned there's a 5 or a 10-year option. Do you have the numbers for those?
We do. For a 5-year, it is $4,902.12. And for 10 years, it is $5,195.59.
Okay.
And the only difference between them, obviously, is just the interest. But in a 15-year, any parcel owner can pay off from the very beginning or at any point in time, and they just pay the interest that they have accrued on their portion of it. Correct, Tracy?
And if one wanted to pay the total up front, that would be less than the 49?
Yes, it would be without the interest.
And the interest is, and how would I calculate that to know what if I were to pay?
Well, I'll let you address that, because, I mean, that would be, they wouldn't pay the 54 off, correct?
Right, they would, and
The pure cost divided by 22.
right, and I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me, but I can give it to you.
In the meantime, what is the value added of the $7,700 to the township?
So, well, first of all, we're happy to answer these questions, because obviously you don't have some of the information. Typically in public comment, though, we just hear your perspective on, any comments that you have. But do you have any other questions? And then we'll try to just answer them all at once.
Not unless one of the answers
Okay.
causes me to have another
Okay,
question.
then that's just fine. So
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
you asked about the $7,700. So for anybody listening and others that are here in the audience, we have $600 for the attorney, $5,000 for the engineer, $2,000 for the publishing, and $100 for the mailing. The township, we actually have gone through and I think on this one and even on the Land's End one, on the Timber Hill one, we went down and reduced some of the administrative costs to try to keep the cost down for the residents. But these are costs that where you are only charged the actual cost. So while the township can charge administration fees on top of these, we haven't. The attorney will be, anytime I have a question, and in fact, with this SAD, we have had a question or two that I've had to call the attorney. It's been minimal. I don't even think we'll reach the $600, but those would be only charged as expense to the township. The same thing with the engineer, exactly, those are estimates. The engineer, we already spoke about, and the reason that we've engaged the engineer as a project manager is because if we were to do this without one, that would be the residents telling us what fix they want on the road, and we're not out there monitoring that project. And what we want to make sure of is that in 10 years, when that homeowner has left and changed hands and sold their house, that they're not on a road improvement that was not done properly. And then now we have new owners and yet they're still paying on an SAD and it's not done properly. So we want to make sure that the fix, while it's not to county road standards, necessarily, it is done properly with respect to engineering. So that's why we engage our township engineer, to make sure that we're not holding the bag in 5 or 10 years on a project that wasn't worthwhile. So again,
There's a township liability.
definitely. I mean, you think about it, let's just say the contractor was, and we don't find this with the contractor that'll be doing this, but let's just say it was a contractor who was not as good at what they do, and they didn't do a very good job, and then you're left with a terrible road. You know, you're not a project manager on an engineering project. We're not either. We want someone there to ensure, from a different perspective and a different responsibility legally, that is being done correctly. So that's what that charge is for. Publishing is for $2,000. That's exactly what was noticed in the paper, and then mailing, sending everything out to the residents. So that's, yeah.
I have, this is rough, because this is just using these numbers that we have as estimates. On the $100,099, if you separate that out for 22 parcels, it's $4,550. So if that's paid by the time, by February 14th, because this will go on the winter tax bill, if it's paid by February 14th, there will be no interest.
Okay, I understand. So you just don't add in the interest, divide
Right.
by 22, and you got it.
Yeah.
Understand.
And understand
And
that,
that's
the
estimated.
yeah, I was gonna say,
It could all change
Right.
depending on how much.
So
interest is spent.
let's say I were to want to
It-
pay up front sometime around before February 12th, I'll know what that cost is.
Yeah,
Somebody will tell us.
before it goes on the winter tax bill, I will send you notice of an amortization and how much it actually is going to cost you, and it'll have, for the next 15 years, what that cost will be. And you can decide then if you want to come in and pay it off. Anyone can. I mean, I've had a couple phone calls.
Okay,
already.
very good. Thank you very much.
absolutely, thank you. Any other comments for, during the public hearing for Ravens Lane and Timber, oh, no, sorry, not Timber Hill. Land's End. Okay. All right. So, and I think there's a couple of you here from Ravens Lane, Land's End. Was there any preference when you were circulating the petition between 5, 10, and 15 years? Why don't you come on up, Bud, and
My understanding, if I read it correctly.
This is Bud Weber, and he circulated some of the petitions.
If we did it over 15 years, of course, you have the option any year to pay it off, the interest paid just for that previous year. But it seemed like it was maybe in our best interest if the rates were, it was my understanding also that it was based on the 10-year Treasury note, the interest rate. So if it stayed real low, it might be to everybody's advantage to spread it over a longer period of time. So between myself and Dan Pearson and a couple other people that we talked to, we decided 15 might be better.
Okay.
And it was also my understanding that if I were to sell my home after 5 years, then the next property owner would have to pick up where I left off. Is that correct?
That's,
It can be transferred, yes. That's part of the negotiation and the sale of the property.
Okay.
You have it, paid
Oh, it's
off
part
at
of
the
the
time.
negotiation.
Yeah,
So
if
it's
you.
not mandatory that they.
No, it's not mandatory. It can be part of that negotiation on the sale, whether it needs to be paid off then or if they'll just assume it. But it stays with the property.
Okay.
And, people are more than welcome to pay additional to the annual amount that shows up on the winter tax bill. Say they don't necessarily have all they need to pay it off in the first year, but maybe year 2, they want to put an extra $1,000 down or something. Then that would change how much, or what the amortization would be, so.
I think, yeah, that's certainly in my case, if the rates were to go up, I'd probably pay it off.
Right.
If it's real low like it is now, then
Right.
I'd let it ride out for a few years.
Mhm.
okay.
So I think there was a consensus from the people that I talked to. And Dan, he took care of the Raven Lane people and some of the other people, and he's in Iceland right now. So he's been-
Lucky him.
but him and I did
Just in
discuss
Iceland?
that
What's it- is
prior
that-
to him leaving, so we both thought that 15 might be the best way to go.
Thank you, Bud.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, it is 7:16, and I'll close the first public hearing. So with that, we would consider resolution number 3, and this establishes the special assessment district. So resolved that the road improvements project be completed and referred to in the proposal. That they approve the plans for the road improvement project as prepared by Elmer's, reviewed by Wade Trim. It mentions the costs in there for the 3 different repayment periods. It determines that the petitions for this project were properly signed of record owners more than 50%. That's correct. I think I added today, I think we had 18 of the 22 property owners signing. And then the special assessment district shall be known as 2021-2 roads, Land's End and Raven Lane. We do need to fill in how many years, so that then on number 4 would be 15 years. And then it directs the supervisor and the assessing officer to make a special assessment roll, and that the roll has been received today, September 13th. So with that, this would be resolution 2021, are we on 20? Okay, -20. Are there any questions regarding it, or is there a motion?
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Oh, and just for clarification, with this, the amount is low, minimal compared to a lot of SADs, so we're able to self-finance this, obviously. So motion is made by Bartlett and second by Matt Cortade. Any further discussion? And we'll do a roll call vote. Ann?
Bartlett.
Yes.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Cortade.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. So at this point, we will open the second public hearing, which is related to the special assessment roll. So if anyone has any problems with how the roll's been calculated, who's been included, that sort of thing, if there are any comments regarding the Special Assessment District 2021-2 Land's End and Ravens Lane on the assessment roll. We'll open that public hearing at whatever the heck time it is, guys. I can't see on my clock here, 7:19. We'll open that public hearing now. Are there any comments regarding that? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. And then we'll bring back to the Township Board the final resolution, which is SAD 21-2, road resolution number 4. And you can see on the back of the resolution we just passed, the parcel numbers and where those parcels are located on that map. This resolution is the last one, which establishes the assessment roll as determined by the supervisor and the assessor. And it also comes down here for a total of the assessments, and this should be placed on the winter property tax bill, on the publication notification on an annual basis with a total of so many installments due in February of each year. Just one installment, correct?
I would say
Total of 15 installments
Due in February, oh, yeah, of course. I was thinking in each year they're billed once. 15, thank
Yeah, I
you.
won't do 15 in 1 year.
Thank you.
Must be Resolution 2021-21.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the road name, 21 dash.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and let's see, 99, 100,
Paragraphs on page 101 of 180.
the interest rate.
I pulled the 10-year treasury rate today,
Mhm.
and it's 1.33, so the rate would be 2.33. 'cause
It's
we
1
add-
percentage point over.
So we typically pick a date as of when we do that, so we would do today's date of, is that fine with everybody? 2.33 based on that? Okay, and that is on page 101.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Can I get some money off that? I can borrow some money off that.
You could be the financier.
So then this further talks about how the installments are assessed against the parcel paid by the treasurer, paid to the treasurer. Assessments made for this roll are hereby ordered and directed to be collected by the township treasurer and for the clerk to deliver the special assessment roll to the treasurer with the warrant attached. And so basically, this finalizes it, and with this, then we will get wage trim rolling on this improvement. So is there a motion for Resolution 2021-21?
I have a question,
Oh, sure, come on up here, if you would.
real quick one. Real simple question.
What was your name? I'm sorry, sir.
I'm Mario Kennedy, I'm a resident of Land's End.
Okay.
The one question I do have is Elmer's is ready to go on this October 12th. Is there anything that would stand in the way of them proceeding?
Likely not.
Great, that's all I need to know, thank you.
I just have one more question too.
Sure, go ahead, come on up, bud.
It's my understanding that we had met with Elmer today, hoping that this would go through. And we made a couple slight changes and would be minimal in additional costs, like hundreds of dollars. But it's my understanding that we can go over like up to 10%.
That's correct, that's correct. And we'll just have you talk with Brian Souza. Brian Souza will be in touch with you and with Wade Elmers as well, so.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for giving it their prompt attention. We appreciate
We
it.
appreciate you doing
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, did we have a motion and support for 2021-21?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'll make a motion for resolution 2021-21, SAD 2021-2, roads resolution 4.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay. There is a motion by Walters and support by M. Cortade. Any further discussion? And we'll do a roll call vote.
Walters.
Yes.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yes.
S. Cortade.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes. Okay, that is the first SAD we've done where we've done everything in the same meeting. And I really want to thank Peter Wendling too for picking the phone up when I call to ask him a question on that. So with that, we will move on to public hearing for Timber Hill. Timber Hill is in your packet on page 102. We have seen Timber Hill before. We've passed resolutions 1, 2, and 3 related to it. It's actually 02, 03, and 06, but it's the first, second, and third resolutions regarding the special assessment district. We have a third public hearing because unfortunately, as you can see on the table on page 102, that our final cost in August came in over that 10% threshold. So with that, we need to do an additional public hearing. Very much like everybody here in the office, the first thing we thought is, well, we'll rebid it. Just for a little background, just so you know, the road commission feels strongly that it's a good price that they have received. The unit pricing is in line with what was received earlier in the year and in previous years. So they don't expect it to go down any. However, the residents would like to see that rebid. There's, who knows if they'll see if costs lowered or not. If experience is anything, probably not, based on the road commission's comments. But I feel like it's their decision to try and do that if they like. The other thing is, though, we don't want to, the road commission has been considering changing some of their policy. And right now, as you know, they have a 25 to 30% right in there, depending on what they do on some of the shoulders, participating. And so that's about over $45,000 for this project, and they're looking at changing that policy. So one of the things we didn't want to have happen is that they try to save a few thousand on the contractor, and yet then they lose that in the sharing from the road commission. I did get confirmation late today that the road commission has agreed to committed to the 45,669.60, as this is an ongoing, already existing special assessment district. So they will honor that going forward, even if it's rebid into next year. They did alert me that it might be a couple more hours, 5 to 10 hours of engineering work and charges related to the rebidding, but that should be minimal. So with this, we'll hold the special hearing. We do have some feedback from some residents in writing, and we'll go over that. And we also have Joe Slanecki here, and so he can address any questions too, and we'll engage with him after the public hearing. So with that, it is 7:27, and we will open the public hearing. First, Sue, before we go over the letters, let's see if there's anyone here in person who would like to address the board regarding this special assessment district. Okay, seeing none, the public hearing is still going on, and we'll go over the information we've received.
I thought I had copied Ray Shimoniak's letter as the organizer of the special assessment district, with his request, having spoken to over half of the residents requesting that we table it. I did not bring that, but it was as the one that was the organizer of that, he had wished that we would table it. That's why we moved forward in this direction.
I spoke with him after that, and he had wanted to rebid it.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So that was one letter we received. The next one is from, and I am so sorry if I say this name wrong, Yarong Zhao. She lives at 308 Timber Hill Drive. She's is notifying us that the amount is too expensive, and that she would not want to be involved in it at that price. And Larry and Carol Mueller at 329 Timber Hill Drive. For the record, they are opposed to the updated cost of $7,800.98 to the property owners for the road improvements on Timber Hill Drive. The cost is excessive and went way beyond the original estimate of $4,500 per property owner. And the last one is a letter of support from Michael Taylor and Susan Reichman Taylor, that they wanted it to be known that they are still interested in the road improvement for Timber Hill Drive. However, with the increased costs that we have seen through the process, we would like to have this project rebid in the spring of 2022 to see if there are any cost savings that may occur.
And then we did get one email today as well, late in the day from,
Michael Taylor and Susan Reichman Taylor.
oh, is that what the one you just, okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I was thinking of something else while you were, while you were doing that,
That's
so
all
I
right, we're having a
kind
Monday.
Okay, so that's the information that we've received from the residents on that road. If there's no further public comment, then it is,
7:30.
and we'll close the public hearing. Joe, if you would pop up here for a second. Do you have anything else that you want to add in particular, or just field questions, or?
I can field questions or, to add to the rebid process. When we looked at the costs at the road commission standpoint, cost per ton of asphalt was bid at $75 a ton. We have pricing for our larger projects, some of our 5-mile long crush and shape projects, which are the same kind of scope as this, but it's 5 miles of road paving, and we're at $65 ton kind of price for those, so there's a lot more production for the contractors to do that sort of work. Across the board, they bid an even $75 a ton for the different asphalt applications. One's base course and then a top course, and the same price for driveway paving at $75 a ton. If you looked at the other two bids, driveway paving typically runs for us about $100 a ton. So the pricing wasn't far out of line from what we were seeing this year in other projects, and it wasn't too far off of our asphalt package that we've been extending prices for the last 2 years. So we, as the road commission, recommended to our board to pursue the project, contingent on approval from East Bay Township, just due to that factor that it didn't look like there was the thanks but no thanks bid across the board from all the contractors. We always like to say that's where they'll always put a price out there, but if they have a lot of work going on, they'll make it worth their time.
Okay, thank you.
But if there's other questions on the project and what's happening, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Sounds good. Why don't you stay there, don't roam too far. Okay. Mindy, go ahead.
What are you seeing for the price of bit? Is it stable? Is it going up? I mean, we're seeing everything go up, so I'm,
As typical, it follows oil prices and gasoline prices. It's not the same. So they go hand in hand, but they're not identical. The asphalt emulsion that comes off of the refining process doesn't necessarily reflect the price swings that you see at the pump. We've heard somewhere around the 5% range, but that's all speculation.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, this is a tough one. The residents have put in, as every SAD, a lot of work. I mean, you just saw Bud, who was here, who going around with the petitions is not exactly like giving out Halloween candy. So it's a lot of work. And sometimes, I think I remember, was it English Woods or Canterbury Woods, sometimes not even well received by
Well,
a
but
portion.
did have some heated public hearing
Yeah.
moments.
Yep. So it's come a long way. It's unfortunate with these SADs that are spread over 15 people. It just doesn't take much to to add up very quickly to those residents. So, the options are, we can, we chose to go forward with the public hearing today because we already had it noticed. So it made no sense to not have the public hearing today and then to reschedule the public hearing like later next spring at a different price, because we just have to renotice it then. We do the public hearing now, it sets the amount that then we're okay as far as the over 10%. We've done the public hearings. Then we can make whatever decision we need to, maybe based upon that rebid price. So we don't have to do that or pass the fourth resolution today. So we can continue to move forward, just allowing me to enter into an agreement with the road commission that we would still commit to the 10% if the SAD went forward, as the road commission would also commit to their portion Yes, at this level, if the SAD went forward. That's the way I understand it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Typically with the SADs that happen between road commissions and the residents and the townships, as you know, we can't assess as the road commission, so we enter into agreements with the townships, and that has the dollars and cents and what's paid for kind of laid out in those agreements. So if we were to have an agreement to move forward, if construction ends up not happening, then whatever construction costs weren't incurred wouldn't be agreed upon. So in the past, we've had 3 separate agreements for SADs. One's for the first estimate, and then there's a second, which is for the design and engineering services to design the project, and then a third, which is for the construction, and this would kind of get all lumped into one.
Joe, when do you foresee, if we do ask for a rebid in 2022, when do you foresee that would be happening?
Well, for the last the last 2 seasons, we've extended our contract for asphalt paving, but this year we've limited out on the number of times we can extend that contract. So we will be rebidding the county-wide asphalt projects this winter. Because this is already designed, there's no reason that it can't just get slid in with everything else that we do.
Okay, so not waiting until spring, it may be where they're hungrier.
We would be targeting, typically February is a decent month, or late January. If we are too early in the year, there's not cost agreements for materials with contractors yet. So we'd like to hit that after the first of the year mark, and plus it misses the holiday season.
And we did that with English Woods and Canterbury last time.
And it was favorable.
It was, but it was the thing that concerns me is what Joe mentioned. And I'm not saying we shouldn't rebid it, but I am saying that I'm less confident it'll produce a savings. Before, remember with English Woods and Canterbury Woods, we bid it at the end of the season with them doing it that season, and it was big 2 projects. And so the price was kind of like, well, if you really want it, here's the price with the overtime loaded in. So we did see savings with that one. The thing that concerns me with this one that we won't see savings is because, as Joe mentioned, they've extended that contract, and they're on their 3rd year of that.
Correct, and our contracts that we extended, the projects we do, the asphalt tonnage is quite a bit higher than this project. This is, for a lot of the work we do, a relatively short project. So it's a lot crammed into a little spot, so you don't have the production. So the pricing didn't seem out of line with the pricing we normally see with that project.
Just to clarify on the pricing, you mentioned $75 a ton. That's installed.
That's installed.
$75 a ton.
From the plant truck through the paver and rolled out.
And you said because I was looking at the 3 prices, I was just curious. I guess the original, was that February 8th of this year? Is that in the?
That was that was when we first saw it. Does it say up here?
It just says the first public hearing. Okay.
I think it was, yeah. Yeah, that's when we first saw that, yep.
So the pricing we estimated, and I couldn't tell you when we put this number down, was for the base course paving was $65 a ton, top course paving was $70 a ton, and then our driveway paving was $100 a ton.
Okay.
And they bid across the board $75 a ton. So a little high on the main line paving, but that number was, the $75 a ton is a number we were seeing back in the 2008 range. So it's not normal to see prices for things come down, but the last few years asphalt prices have been really favorable. So.
Well, what, I mean, I guess, so this was rebid just last month, right? That's what the current,
That was the first proposal, the first bid.
The 8/6 of 2021 is the latest.
right.
The
right. So
original-
It's the highest, it's the
Yeah,
152.
yep. And the original and the May are kind of a reverberation through the road commission of estimates.
Oh,
And
okay.
engineer's
Gotcha.
estimate.
Okay, so the
Yeah,
first two are
that's not a
estimates,
bid.
August is an actual bid.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the way we do the first estimate is, it's what we call the windshield estimate, where
Sure.
you drive the road and take a look at what fix you think it needs, and we take a measurement and count the driveways and come up with a relatively good number.
And it's February.
Yeah, and it's February, so there's snow and we can't see all the ditching, and there's a few things that you can miss. But as we work through the design plans, we start really looking at, we go out and we do hand augers and core the road and look to see what materials are down there. Take a good hard look at all the drainage structures that are out there, try and figure out any ditching or anything that needs to take place. So through the process, something that we've done is, normally we do ditching and berm grading and those items of work to get drainage corrected
Mhm.
with these projects, but seeing the costs are going up, the road commission's maintenance crews agreed to do some of that work ahead of time. So we pulled those items out of the bid,
Yeah.
which is something we would still do.
To the road commission's credit, between the original and the May 19th, we actually had one or two other numbers in there that were higher than the May 19th. And to the road commission's credit, they went back and shaved more off of it to make sure that we were under that 10% in May.
Yep, I remember that.
And they continued to keep that amount shaved off even when the higher bid came in.
Yeah, those were, some of our typical admin fees.
Yeah.
Our overhead and those items, so.
Sure.
So a couple different, I mean, the board could, approve the resolution number 4 and move forward with the $7,800.98. I feel that would be it would be difficult with the really marginal, more people want this than don't want it. Even those that do want it are really wanting it rebid. So I feel that would be, my personal opinion, a little bit like shoving that upon somebody. And SADs tend to be kind of that road's decision and consensus for the most part. I mean, obviously, we always have some that don't agree. We could move forward and personally contribute some, additional amount through the township. That would require us then deviating from the 10% policy that we have, which may or may not be acceptable to the township. And then we can just let this ride, authorize myself to enter into that agreement with the road commission, hold those amounts and percentages steady, and then see what happens with the bid in the spring. I don't hold out a lot of hope, but God, I hope I'm wrong.
It's a bid process, so.
Well, you had mentioned that this is kind of, I guess, in paving standards, a paving world is a small project, so it's tough to get sort of spread the efficiencies across a smaller project, right?
It is. When you look at a project that has a dead end and a cul-de-sac and a lot of driveway work, there's not a lot of production.
Yeah.
Versus when we're out doing a project that has 2 miles of road in a straight line.
Right.
And there's, 5 driveways. So there is differences, and that's how they base their bids on it, is how much work they think they can get done in a certain amount of time. Strictly speaking, from a material cost, the cost per ton of asphalt to them is the same, you know, if they're making 500 tons of
Sure.
such and such a mix for a road that's out in the country and they're paving a lot of it, or a smaller project. It just depends on how long it takes them to do the work. So I guess the way to explain it is when we do bridge projects and the paving approaches around those bridges, it's a lot of setup, tear down, moving around, very tight constrained spaces. So they're out there for a whole day, but the asphalt they're putting down is 10% or less of what they normally do in an entire day. So we pay prices that are close to $300 a ton for that work.
Yeah, a lot of labor costs per
A lot
ton.
of labor costs per ton.
So what would there be, even if material costs stayed the same, what would be the chances that this got rebid in sort of a package and you pick up some kind of, would it be more favorable the way that you bid it with your other work, potentially?
Well, because it's an SAD, we wouldn't want to lump it into our main contract where everything's included, only because you want to, we discussed that kind of internally, if we could do something like that. But what you don't want is prices to come back on one smaller project higher than all the rest, and have some costs with that larger contract pushed down.
Makes sense.
You know, so how would you award a large contract with high prices for a smaller project?
Yeah.
In
Yeah, that's
order
fair.
to get the cheapest overall contract, so.
So, you know, best case scenario, this gets rebid, but it's still a standalone project by itself, and
It would be.
it's most likely subject to whatever price increases come out of new agreements.
Correct, but you would hope that, because like, if you looked at the bid tab, I don't know, did those get forwarded to you?
The bid tab?
Correct.
I don't think the bid tab did.
It was in our meeting. There was 2 competitive bids that were fairly close, and seemed in line, and then the third contractor was quite high. So you would be hoping that you have more competition amongst the contractors trying to fill their schedule.
Is there anything in the, going down the road that they would be doing on North Arbutus Lake Road where you could combine it?
Or East
They
Arbutus
just,
Lake Road?
they just did North Arbutus Lake Road a couple years ago.
Correct.
And East Arbutus Lake Road, while it was on like 2 years, they removed it and pushed it back, and then they removed it, and now I don't think it's on one, and probably is one that's going to hit a different funding policy in the future.
And-
Yeah.
and there-
Thought,
I know.
And there again, it would be combining a smaller project with a larger one into one contract. So somebody could go after the larger project, knowing they can spread their costs and bid higher on the small project. And if you're only awarding one contract, you're stuck with those costs.
I guess what I was looking at, and I don't know how the bidding all goes, but if you already got the equipment out there, that's one big cost of
Yeah.
transporting the equipment out. We
Like-
were right there, but,
That's what we tried to do with Grace McDonald, remember, when we did the parking lot?
And we attempt to do that on some of our own projects. I can't say for definitively if it makes a difference or not.
They're probably using a different paver.
okay.
It may, it may not.
So if I can ask a question, we're getting ready to do Arbutus 5 improvements. That will require a new
Not
paving.
enough. Not enough there.
And I know that's a little job too.
Yeah. And actually, I don't even think it's quite considered a full paving, it's more as just maybe some top treatment. I know.
How long are this pricing good for? How long do y'all require contractors to hold their pricing?
30 days.
That's it?
So we're really close, if not
Gotcha.
over 30 days now. I spoke to them about it, and they were fine with waiting. But they would not hold prices over the winter.
All right. Makes sense.
I appreciate you asking, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
Is that a standard, just out of curiosity, a standard requirement for
It's an
road
order.
commission? 30 days, that's
30
it?
days.
Okay.
For this kind of project where you have a lot of dirt work and labor work and not a tremendous amount of materials coming in from other sources, you can usually hold your pricing a little bit longer. Where we really run into the 30 days is when you're doing intersection work for traffic signals and you're dealing with steel suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
Because those prices fluctuate quite quickly. So the 30 days on these types of projects is usually fairly easy to accommodate.
And so one last question. I had asked Tracy and Beth about it when we were looking at these things. This is a county road, needs to be improved to a county road standard. Not that I want it to, but is there a benefit for it to go gravel road? Is it possible?
Anything's possible. The condition or I guess you would say the topography of that road might lead to some issues being a gravel road. The approach, the entrance is quite steep and goes uphill. That's something that would probably be reasonable at the top, but I would foresee a lot of maintenance on the hill.
Let me just follow up on that question. And any decision like that, as we talked about earlier, is a decision of the road commissions, really. And so I guess going a little bit further down the road is, if the road is not done, what are the maintenance plans for it in its current state?
Given the current policies that the road commission has for fixing roads, it would wait. We like to say we're going to get to every road, but that might mean it takes 20 years to get to certain roads.
But what type of general maintenance is still done on an annual basis?
There's the plowing and patching work that's done.
Okay.
But given the condition of this road, beyond basic pothole patching, there isn't a lot to do.
Okay.
Didn't you say that, that your maintenance crews were going to do some of the ditching and shoulder work
Correct.
anyway?
Yeah, so we call it the berm grading, or others call it the country curve. It's where winter maintenance sand and grass grows and collects that dirt that blows off the road or across the road, and you get that berm of grass that builds up along the side of the road. That prevents water from getting into the ditch and away from the road. And when that water sits next to the side of the road, it reduces the strength of the pavement because it's saturated underneath it. So as a common maintenance practice, we go around and we try to address all of that. And I know our crews they're spending quite a bit of time doing ditching and berm grading currently. So because it was a typical routine maintenance type item with this project, we thought we could get in there and get it done.
Well, I guess, again, the way I look at it, I mentioned the three options, approve it like it is and move it forward, approve it like it is, move it forward and contribute additional funds, or just hold on that resolution number 4 and sign the agreement and see what the next bid price comes back at, and then revisit this in, what is that? It's not quite 6 months, is it? A few months?
This is September,
Well,
I'd say 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could let you know if things are going out to bid when we anticipate it.
Are there any other options out there that I'm not articulating?
And the only other one is to deny it.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
move forward. And I don't think that's what the residents want. There are some that we know have voiced concerns with the cost of it as is, but as the person that circulated has conveyed to us, there's a strong request to rebid.
So if deny is off the table and approve as is, I think, off the table, we either approve it and contribute the money, or we wait and rebid it and enter into that agreement with the road commission.
And the way that the condition of this road, the scope of the project isn't going to change.
Right.
It's not like we're looking at getting in there to do a preventative maintenance crack fill or a chip seal and the window's gonna pass. It's a crush and shape, which involves pretty extensive work and 2 layers of asphalt going down, so.
So
that won't change
would,
in the future.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Joe. So would there be a motion to consider resolution number 4 in February or March of 2022? And in the in the interim, authorize the township supervisor to sign an agreement with the road commission, which commits the township to 10% or the dollar amount equal to that, which is $15,223.20, and as well to the road commission to 30% or $45,669.60.
I'll make that motion,
Okay.
but it sounds like you just did.
No. Motion by Walters, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Walters, second by M. Cortade. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, so we're establishing both the percentage and the dollar amount to contribute?
Yeah, I tried to look back at that email and see if they were committing to, it didn't really say whether it was the percentage or the dollar amount.
It would be the 30%.
It'd be the 30%, so obviously if it drops okay, it'd be the 30%.
So that would be the same for the township as
Yeah,
well?
so we'll do that for a commitment of, is that fine, Mindy and Matt? Okay, so that commitment will be for the 30% and the 10%. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? All right, Joe, thank you so much for working with us with these. These can be sometimes quick like that one and other times painstaking, but once they are done though, boy, some of them really, they do look nice though, don't they? Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay, with that, we'll move forward to the public hearing for emergency services. That is item 2. And it begins on page 115 of your board packet. And you can see the notification that was given for a total of 3.8 mills. And that would be for police, which is our first public hearing, of 0.26 mills. So with that, it's 7:56, and we'll open the public hearing for the emergency services police millage at 0.26 mills. Is there any one member from the public who would like to make a comment during public hearing? Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing.
Also at 7:56.
Okay. And then I think we'll just do all 3 public hearings, and then we can do, well, we need to do the resolution for the fire board, which is different than the other 2. That's on page 136. So with that, we'll take a look at the Metro Fire millage at 2.6 mills. Pat Parker's here if we have any questions. We did go over it last month. It is 7:57, and we'll open the public hearing for the fire emergency service millage. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment regarding that? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And with that, we do have resolution 2021- what number are we on, you guys? 23. And this basically just commits the township to the totals that are in item number 1, which equate to 2.6 mills. And that we will distribute the revenue by May 15th, which is not a problem because we've received it by then. And that we can come up with that amount from any combination, obviously, as we're assessing 2.6 mills, and that's how we are paying for that. So with that, is there a motion and support for the resolution 2021-23?
Make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Bartlett and supported by Escortade on the resolution for the Grand Traverse Metro Emergency Services Authority. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Ann?
Bartlett.
Yes.
Escortade.
Yes.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yeah.
Friend.
Yes. Okay. And with that, we will move on to the ambulance millage, and that is set this year at .94 mils. So it is 7:59, and we will open the public hearing for the ambulance millage for medical services at .94 mils. Is there any member of the public who would like to make comment during this public hearing? And seeing none, we will close public comment. And Nick Lemkool is here to answer any questions, and we have had him with us at the previous month's meeting to do so. So with that, on all three millages, is there a motion to approve a total of 3.8 mils, with 2.6 going to Metro Fire, 0.26 going to the police, and 0.94 mils going to East Bay Ambulance? Is there a motion?
I'd make that motion.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay, motion is made by Lyle and supported by M. Cortade to approve the millage as stated in the public hearing notice. Any further discussion? And we'll do a roll call vote.
Lyle.
Yes.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Escortade.
Yes.
And Friend.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much for being here in case we had any questions, or appreciate it. Okay, with that, we will move on to Holiday Forest. Claire, thank you for waiting. And Mr. Crane, thank you for waiting. Boy, there was just no good place to put different agenda items tonight. It was. So why don't you go over an overview on the Holiday Forest 2 for us?
Okay. So Bill Crane is here representing the applicant, Bill Klaus, so he can answer any of the technical questions. But there was a public hearing, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on August 10th. This is a subdivision condominium. The zoning ordinance requires that after the Planning Commission holds the public hearing and makes a recommendation, then it ultimately needs to be approved by the Township Board. So this is for Holiday Forest Phase 2. Phase 1 was approved in 2001. It was 48 residential, single-family homes. This one, Phase 2, is looking at 25 of them, 25 buildable lots. And you'll see in your packet that, the Planning Commission reviewed, supportive of this proposed site plan. They unanimously recommended approval to the Township Board. There was a few different items that they had some suggestions on, and a lot of that has actually been addressed in an updated site plan, but it was just ensuring that there was public access to the common areas. There was already going to plan public access to the future Holiday Woodlands Preserve, which this is right adjacent to. And then just looking at where some of the stormwater runoff goes and the existing easements for existing utilities, making sure those are not located on the buildable lots. So those have been addressed and/or are in the process of being addressed. And you'll see in the Planning Commission minutes includes kind of all of the recommended conditions that the Planning Commission is recommending under site plan review number 7-21. It's on page, I'm not sure what page of the packet it is.
174 and 175.
174 and 175, thank you. So it's conditions 1 through 7. Let's see, is the recommendation, so.
Okay, and so what is the motion that we are looking for here? Move to approve site plan review 721, or table or deny, site plan review 721 Holiday Forest 2, subject to the staff findings of fact as amended, conditions 1 through 7 as recommended by the Planning Commission. Okay. Are there any board questions regarding this proposal and the Planning Commission review? Or Mindy, do you want to make any comments first?
Yeah, there's one, thing that we talked about at the planning commission that didn't get added to the list of conditions, and I would like to propose that at this time. And that has to do with the ending of pavement on the north-south portion of the road here. They have that ending before the property line, and I suggest we require them to go to the property line there.
What page is that on, Mindy?
168, 169,
Okay.
and the next few. I think they go the wrong way. I'm sorry. The wrong way.
Oh, it's just shy of it, right?
Yeah, it's just shy of it, but it's not to the property line.
Okay, all right.
They have a reasoning for that?
Yeah, so it's just gonna,
Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Bill Crane, Crane Engineering, here to represent Holiday Forest 2. The only reason is there is a grade change. With the steep slope, we wanted to keep it back to make a good transition for a future connection at some time in the future. That would be the only reason why it was cut back a little bit, due to topography and a grade change to make a good connection to the south.
Okay, thank you. What's, Claire, what might be to the south? I'm trying to remember what's there, and I can't recall how many acreage or who owns it or
How
anything.
many acres it is? It's a large undeveloped parcel.
Is it? Okay.
It's the Ralph and Linda Bergsma property.
Oh, okay,
It goes to Prouty.
Yeah, it goes all the way down.
okay. And then the access over to the Holiday Woodlands Preserve, is that the orange on the left there?
Yes, but that's been modified. The plans that came out today moves that up between 49 and 50, because if you can see the microscopic detail here on lot 50, there's a water line going through that building envelope. So they have moved
He's got a bigger drawing.
I got a bigger drawing if that helps.
it's
So
still
the location-
microscopic from here.
The location he's talking about is, currently there's an existing water main. When Phase 1 went in, they extended the public water main, and this is where it stopped, and they did have a stub that went to the west. In our previous plan, this water main was actually within Unit 49, so it kind of decreased the buildable area in Unit 49. So we've kind of made a small little modification to provide the walking path connection to the west over the top of the water main, and then reconfigure lot 49 and 50 to kind of take care of the condition or the concern that the Planning Commission had of a water main through the middle of a lot and just making the buildable area smaller. So we did kind of reconfigure 49 and 50, but allowed the water main to be the main connection point that goes to the park to the west.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you a quick question on, let's see, talks about irrigation on 3G, and it says the condition not satisfied. Irrigation is not indicated on the site plan. Staff would recommend waiving this since most individual homeowners would install irrigation and landscaping when homes are developed. Do you have any requirements, like HOA requirements or, deed requirements, however you do that, that they must have irrigation installed?
No, there was not any requirement. There was a condition that was put on by the Planning Commission that 2 trees must be planted at the time of development for each one of the units to be installed on those lots, but there is no requirement that irrigation is a must-have as part of this development.
So as,
It's a 2-year guarantee.
There's a 2-year, well, there's a a guarantee or an escrow, I guess you'd say, for that part of it, yes.
But the individual homeowners aren't required to install irrigation, is what I'm saying. Okay,
That is not required in Holiday Forest either.
it isn't?
I do not have irrigation.
Okay. Okay, other questions?
Just on lots 58 and 59, what am I seeing? Is that a retention basin that comes in?
Yeah, those
on
are
the backs of
retention
those?
basins that are taking runoff from Holiday Forest 1.
Mhm.
That was one of the other concerns that the planning commission had. Those are actually currently they're in drainage easements. And as part of our approval process, we have to do a final submittal for soil erosion, stormwater control through the township engineer. That's kind of our next step, along with this section of road is actually going to be a public road. The small stuff to the south is going to be a private road, so we do have our approval process through the road commission. That's kind of our next phase, along with public sewer and public water extension. That's kind of, as soon as we obtain our approval through the township for the site plan and the development, we are in the process of doing our final engineering design and approvals through the township and road commission.
One other thing that you won't see on the plan set in your hand, but is on this drawing, is that there's another access to the common area to the back, over by the water tower, next to lot 61. The planning commission requested that, because you can get in on the south side of lot 68, but you can't get out, right? So there's no walking path. If you get in, you can't get out. So up by the water tower, they've added a common area.
That's what that does. It allows if someone came in through here, they could actually walk, and walk all the way around without walking the road. This wasn't originally there. We did have access here, but, and I think, if I remember right, there is a substantial walking path that goes there currently that continues around, but that kind of gives that continuity to access to that open space for.
And that way
for
they're not cutting
dog
through
catchers.
property owners.
Okay, any other questions for Bill or for Claire? If there's not, is there a motion?
Just on the landscaping thing, I know it's kind of relatively new, the 2-year guarantee. There was a mention of the irrigation. How would these trees potentially survive?
We're not recommending a 2-year performance guarantee for the landscaping as one of the conditions, because there isn't any landscaping as part of this plan. They're going to be preserving all of the trees on site surrounding the perimeter as possible in each one of the development sites, preserving the trees. For the 2 street trees per parcel, that will be part of the site plan, that will be part of the land use permit. So zoning administrator, when they issue a land use permit, will ensure that there's 2 street trees placed for each one of the parcels. And part of that is that our ordinance specifically requires street trees to be planted as a part of the residential subdivisions. But then it wasn't feasible to kind of have that happen prior to the development. As the planning commission discussed with the applicant, it made more sense to have that happen as the homes go in, just for utility work and other types of construction, that they would be pretty disturbed.
So when they put in Holiday Forest, I don't know if it was done at that time or not, but where the road is going has already been cut. It's already there. There's not any trees that you're gonna be cutting down. There's nothing where that road or the utilities are going that exists currently, except maybe on that short north-south stub road. That whole phase of the development has already been rough graded, if you will. I mean, obviously, it's been 20 years since that was done, and there's lots of weeds, but there's no significant trees that are coming down. It's already there.
There's a lot of that Russian olive they could plant there, and it doesn't need any water.
No, it doesn't. But back to my question, the performance guarantee would not apply to those street trees?
The performance guarantee would not apply to this development.
Okay.
Because there's no formal landscaping as a part of the proposed
Okay.
So then,
Preservation of what's existing.
so to follow up on that, so then when each homeowner or lot owner comes in to get a land use permit to put up a house, they will be required to put 2 street trees in, and at that time, will there be a 2-year? Probably not.
No.
Okay.
How do you intend on addressing when people buy more than one lot? So you might have, a home built on one lot, they purchase the one next to them to be an empty lot. They don't pull a land use permit for that property. So do they never have to plant the 2 trees on that property?
That would, the way this is written, that would be the case. So it's only triggered by the land use permit for a home.
So Claire, looking at 3F, that's that 2-year performance guarantee for landscaping. That's
Yeah.
in red. Do we need to strike that?
Right, we ended up, so the amended conditions as recommended by the planning commission are in the minutes. They're number 1 through 7.
Okay, so it's
So
not
in my
part of-
staff report, I had recommended that performance guarantee, but based on, conversation with the applicant, it became apparent that there was really no landscaping going in to require that performance guarantee.
Mentioned that the short stub's a private road. Over here, we have that situation where we have roads with gates across them. So is that scenario even possible up there if the neighbor wants to develop? That somebody could block the connection?
No.
No, because part of one of the conditions is that reciprocal access agreement and easement that would be put in place for this property and would be put in place upon future redevelopment.
If you-
If needed all season.
And I think Tracy just asked about the maintenance agreement. Those are all addressed on page 175. You'll see the 7 conditions Claire mentioned. And that's covered in item 2.
Right.
Just curious, because I'm kind of wondering how the mechanism works with the developer or whoever's building the house and the township. At what time do those trees get signed off on, that they're verified? Is that closing of a building permit, or who's sort of responsible for?
That's a great question, and this is the first time we've implemented something like this, to my knowledge, to require, we'll do a landscaping inspection for commercial developments after they've been put in, and so I would think that inspection would be when we go and take a look at the setbacks, make sure the setbacks are done correctly, as well as the 2 trees are planted.
Could you complete that inspection 2 years after they're planted?
Not for the
Possibly. Yeah, that would
not
be
for the
the-
setbacks. I don't-
No, I'm talking about the trees.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about the 2-year performance guarantee, how it wouldn't apply here, and that would be a way to,
Remember to go back,
well.
I think
sure.
if you're worried, are you trying to get at the worry about the existence of the tree continuing?
Well, I guess my concern is, you're planting these trees and you have no means to irrigate them. What are the chances? It's kind of defeating the purpose. Like, what do you even, if they're not going to live, why are you planting them? I mean, there may be some owners that water them and take care of them, but some people won't, and they'll die, and you won't ever have a tree there again.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is that, and, it talks in here on page, where does it go, where does it mention the irrigation that I was? All landscaped areas required pursuant to this should be equipped with watering system capable of providing sufficient water to maintain plants in healthy condition. I mean, I would personally love to see the development HOA require that it has irrigation, that it does it might not in Holiday Forest, but it does in several subs around there. And that would make that more feasible.
But if we're going for affordable housing, that could knock it out.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna check with the city of Traverse City, just because they plant street trees all over just the neighborhoods, and I don't see them watering in our
No.
neighborhoods.
They
so-
might just need those Camelback containers.
Yeah, the bags.
Do the trickle drip.
Yeah.
But a lot of times that's done, and I can't speak for Traverse City, but I've seen in other municipalities where the municipality actually does those and sends a truck around and fills them up and
Right.
keeps them watered,
Yeah,
you know, like
definitely
a,
downtown, and so
Yeah.
I need to find out if they do that with kind of the other residential.
They planted, city came through and planted trees on Hannah Street, but I don't see any way that they're gonna water it unless somebody just brings a trucker home, because I think they just figure that whoever lives in the house in front probably will water it, but again, I'm not sure of that.
yeah.
Is there any way to put, to cover that tree, part of the ordinance that before they get their occupancy permit, the trees need to be planted, because you're gonna have water then.
Not if they get occupancy in the middle of the winter. Did you hear me?
What was that?
Not if they get occupancy in the middle of the winter.
I guess that throws another wrench into works, doesn't it?
I think we
And
could,
somehow you gotta be able to hold them to it, because, if it's not in there, it's probably not gonna happen. And if the planning commission's idea that they have to have trees planted in these subdivisions, there's gotta be a way to,
I think we can probably rely on you and PT and Leslie to come up with a mechanism. Any other questions, comments, or a motion?
So I'd make a motion to approve the site plan review 7-21 Holiday Forest 2, subject to the staff findings of fact is amended, conditions 1 through 7 as recommended by the planning commission.
Is there support?
Did we want to add what Mindy said?
Remind me again, Mindy, it was the,
Sorry.
Pavement between proposed lots 68
Yeah.
and 69 be extended to the property line to the south.
I'm not sure because of the elevation issue. I mean, you're better to answer that than me, I guess.
The issue is that if it's not done now, who's gonna pay for it when the extension is done? And that's my issue.
But if it's done at the wrong elevation, it's gonna have to be fixed at some point anyway.
But then it's up to that new developer to match it
Yeah.
or to make the adjustment.
But
Okay, I'll add with eighth condition to,
And I'm okay if they pave it at the time that the extension is made, but it's on this developer to pave it.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
well, but you can't, this developer could be gone by then.
Long gone, exactly.
So I would add a condition 8 to request that the pavement on the
extend.
stub road be extended to the property line.
Support.
Hold on, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only seeing 5 conditions, that would make it 6. Where are we coming up with the other 2?
7-page.
I'm on page 162.
It's
Oh,
on page
you're over
175.
on the, okay, got it.
175.
It's in too many places.
yeah,
I've got this everywhere. I was going by Claire's staff report.
Yeah.
So a motion was made by
Bartlett?
Bartlett and supported by Walters to approve with the 7 conditions from the Planning Commission and 1 further from the Township Board. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by no? Okay, thank you very much, Bill. Thank you, Claire. Appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to the Brine Agreement, which is number 5. And so with this, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You'll recall that we approved 1 application of the Liquidow at $8,267. There is another township adjacent to us that is also examining in the second first 2 weeks of September doing a second application, and we would do that in conjunction with them. And both, we could do the liquid out or the mineral well brine, correct, Joe?
I would have to check the book.
Yeah, I think so. I think in the email, he mentioned,
Says it-
but why would you, basically? Because they've had a lot better results with the liquid owl.
Certainly feasible, but not something I'd recommend.
So one application of the liquid owl, again, just under 8,300, and the mineral well brine is almost 5,600. We've had mixed reviews. Anything that I've heard that is been that they haven't been satisfied with the brine this year has always had some mitigating factor attached to it. It's either been construction. So for example, on Alta Vista on Vanderlip Road, and Claire did work with the developer who will brine that portion of it. Now, whether they'll use liquid out or just call a brine, mineral well brine to do it, but they're doing it in conjunction with the road commission. That hasn't happened yet. And obviously, that's not as directly under our control to talk about or to dictate the timing, but they are working towards that. And then all the other places still had mitigating circumstances. One was attached to like the detour exactly from the roundabout. Another was on a road with several homes, and it was only one person who complained. So I don't know, what you attach to that as far as the weight. Obviously, it means something that they contacted us, but also that the other, multiple homeowners that are on there haven't heard anything. I have heard a couple positives for the liquid owl in an area over near like Camp Graylick, Scout Camp Road over that way. So, but I wanted to bring this to the board to give the board the option of doing a second application if they chose to.
Do you know when the second application would be put down?
It would be put down yet, obviously, this year. And I think in pretty short order because they just did the second application for everyone else. You'll notice he said on here, "You're killing me," because I just asked them and they just wrapped up their application. So I don't think it would be very long. They would want to get that down, not only to get the usage out of it this year, but then obviously it puts it in better shape for the next year, yeah.
Do you know when they put the first application down?
No, I don't.
Sometime. In June sometime?
Because that's what I see, and I know but, if you remember, we had weather in June that was 95 and hot and dry. And then we got to July, and it's been pretty much raining every other day since then. So when you mention the complaints, it's, it's hard to judge whether it really worked or not, because if you got it down in early June and that hot, dry weather, it don't matter what you got down, it's gonna be tough.
Well, and the people that I've talked to, because I had the pleasure of talking to 3 of them in one day, they, we have in previous years done 2 brines. And it's about this time when the second brine goes down, well, that's when we started, getting more complaints. So I can't really,
Well,
3 people that I talked to, I just chalked it up to, well, this is kind of the timing that they see the second one going down,
No,
and we haven't.
the Wiltsey Road, is a dirt road, quarter mile to the south of me, and usually when it's hot and dry, you just see the clouds of dust rolling over the trees, and I haven't seen that all summer long, so. My point is that we're using the more expensive thing. Are we getting the benefit out of it? And from what I've gathered, I think we are, so.
Well, that's good
Yeah.
to know.
That's the feedback the road commission has seen, and they weren't too happy about, if you remember, the increased expense either.
Right.
And they have never used that product in the past, and it's been available. So their feedback has been that they've had some favorable results. as Tracy said, she got like 3 phone calls in one day, but as we talked, every single one of those had,
Some mitigating.
one was a first-time homeowner on a gravel road, so that's kind of a learning curve.
Experience.
Exactly. And the other 2, I think, were construction areas. One was Wilsey, but again, they were, probably it was in an area with the construction too.
Wilsey has three different sections of road, and each one of them's different, so it's just
So-
terrible.
I'm sorry, is the road commission going to do another application on Wilsey Road because of the impact from the roundabout?
Actually, no, we contacted the road commission, and they were they gave us a response, and they were following up with the homeowner. And what they had mentioned was, as part of the detour, they've been in regular observation of the condition of the road, and that they would continue to address it as needed.
And then the Alta Vista development will be taking care of a portion of Vanderlip, but we can't count on that not being under our umbrella.
Exactly.
You know,
We're getting into the rainy season, and I'm just wondering how effective putting brine down when we hit this rainy season, if it's even gonna, if it's raining most of the time, you don't need any brine. But if you put it down and you hit the rain, is it gonna affect effectiveness of the brine?
And I don't know, Joe, I know Brian is not your thing, but did you have any, feedback?
You know.
You should have ran.
Just curious what's going on there. From what I've heard, and Jay, the superintendent, he's really dove into this Brine app, from what I've seen. And he's heard from other places that there is a residual effect. And they've noticed, like other agencies, that it carries over into the next year. Because of it's the way that this application works and the way it combines with water and it's into the aggregates. So from what I've heard, and this is just talk around the office, is that there is a residual effect that lingers into the next season.
I will mention, one of the things, the other townships, many of them did do a second application, even though it was an increased price, too, so.
And just for whatever it's worth, the price we paid for the first application historically is about the price that we paid for 2
Right,
applications.
that's what I was thinking.
Just because
Yeah.
I have to keep track of it for the Metro report that I do once a year.
Yeah,
so.
and you've got it on page 178, all the way back to 2017. So what is the pleasure of the board?
I guess I would think that we should do a second application. I'm just not sure which one is the right one.
Any other comments or thoughts, or?
Well, I'll make a motion to have a second application of the liquid Dow, to be applied as soon as possible.
Okay. There's a motion by M. Cortate and support by Walters. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by no?
Which application did you choose?
Liquid Dow.
Liquid Dow.
Okay.
Okay. Joe, you get homework from tonight. Already texting, already emailing him?
Dawn?
Thank you.
Good job.
So that goes on our list, but now we can click that over our list now. Okay. Let's see, with that, we did have another one. Okay, 8B, the Metro Act amended application. And that was 8B, which was under the consent calendar, and we removed it. And that is on page 17 of your packet. And Matt, you had a question on this.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody here to answer my question.
That's fine.
After everybody's cleared
To
out.
be quite honest, with the Metro Act, we really have very little latitude.
Really?
Yes. As
Well,
a matter of fact, yeah, go ahead.
So obviously, this was an amendment to a previous application. It says that they amended by adding all the mapping, and it's going through it, looking at the mapping and some of the legends. They've got a lot of things indicated here, and that was going to be my question, if there was somebody, an engineer, somebody technical here, they could answer it. I did not see anywhere on here, even though they've got it included in the legend, any of the markers, the warning markers or the right-of-way markers for the fiber optic. I know in other parts of town, on the other side of town where Grand Traverse Bay has got their fiber optic line, they do have the big fiberglass, kind of ugly things sticking up out of the ground that say, fiber optic buried here. And I didn't know if any of these are going to wind up in front of somebody's houses. They're not indicated on here anywhere.
So all of that goes through, well, we have this line laid already through
Sure.
large parts of the township. So kind of see, what you see is what you're going to get.
Okay.
And then as well, this is permitted, it goes through an approval process with the road commission as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, but we as well are partners with the right-of-way, and so Metro Act comes through us. Really, I think the technical portion of it, we really rely on the road commission as far as like where they're laying it and how. We have gotten involved in the past a little bit where we knew that we were laying some, where the water and sewer was involved, because we wanted to make sure that when they have to do anything to water and sewer, they're not having to work around a fiber optic line. But
Right.
other than that, we typically don't get involved too much in this.
Yeah, it was just a question to find out whether or not it was going to be marked.
Yeah,
That's all.
and I can
noticed it went
follow-
in front of a bunch of people's houses
Yeah.
and out in front of the school and everything. I didn't know if somebody's going to wind up with some.
Yep.
we got one more.
Well, if I
Yeah.
remember,
Yeah.
the previous line comes down 3 Mile, goes down Hammond, goes down 5 Mile.
Yeah.
I drive that quite often. I never seen a marker.
Three goes right up 3 Mile, yeah.
I know on the west side of town, I think Bugai Road, there's, the same line runs down Bugai Road, and it's all marked, so. And like I said, the reason I had the question is because it's indicated, there's an option here on the legend. It doesn't show up here anywhere on the map. So I
Yeah.
didn't know if it was like,
There's
they
a-
weren't showing it and it was going to be on there at a later date, or what?
Then they contract with the company. The gentleman is out of like Wisconsin or Minnesota, Jeff Zeiner, and I can email him and ask him that question as well and follow up with you.
Yeah, and it may be a requirement of, the county or the Public Service Commission or something that utilities have to be marked like that. Maybe
Yeah.
not, I don't know.
And I did get in touch with the Public Service Commission just to make sure that, given the time difference between when the original was passed and when this is being presented, that it could still fall under that same application and be an amendment, and yes, in fact, it can. So, and as far as, I think there's a bonding in there, this township has never required bonding that I could find regarding the Metro Act. We do have copies of their insurance, that sort of thing, but other than that, we haven't.
When you say there, you mean the installing contractor or the operator of the utility?
Whoever Jeff sends exactly, whoever has that insurance, they send us a copy of it.
And that's
Yep.
for,
The name on it, I would have to go back and take a look at. I just know that when we get it, it's like, okay, this goes with the Metro Act stuff. But what the actual name of the company on, I don't know.
And we're always named as well.
right, okay.
I think
And-
you do see the markers on here.
Do what?
You can see the markers on here. For example, on page 48 of 182, there's a marker.
Hang on,
It's-
the map page 48, okay.
The packet page 48 of 182.
I don't have page numbers on mine.
They're at the very bottom. They're cut off by the,
48.
No, thanks. What? Now, where at?
there's a marker right here. It's both on there as well as it's called out in the box.
I'm not seeing it. The
That one's-
cable marker manhole 45 foot on center?
Double zeros, that's on there a couple times throughout the package.
Well, they, I don't know.
of 182.
Well, maybe we're talking about the same thing, maybe not. I don't know. The summary page at the very beginning has at the bottom warning markers 0. So they're saying they don't have any. I don't just,
Tell you
it was just a technical
Yeah,
question. This is
that's
not like a
fine.
deal changer for
No,
me or
that's
anything. I
fine.
just, that was. it
But
was
Matt,
just
why
a-
don't you, so I get the verbiage correct, the information you were looking at, and don't confuse it with something else, just email me and I'll forward that on to the
Okay.
gentleman.
Thank you.
All right.
I have a question on the same agreement.
Yes.
Page 29 of 182. The date.
Where I marked it off and put the same date on?
Yeah, that one.
That's because I marked it off and I went to go hit undo and it wouldn't let me undo, and I was in like a PDF using his Word or Word using his PDF, I couldn't remember, and I was like, okay, if I change this, I have to go back and redo all of the other there, so I just left it like that.
Okay, is that the right date?
Yeah.
Or is it supposed to be today?
No, that's the right date. That's what I had talked with the Public Service Commission too. Because this is their agreement that they're amending, and that's their original permit.
I noticed it too, but I just figured it's the same.
I would have thought it was a
Doesn't
typo
matter.
because someone put the same one. But yeah,
Well, because I looked somewhere else and it had a different, in the resolution, it has a, oh, no, right here in the back, it has another date.
what page?
2019-18.
It has the amendment date added to the original. In section 13.5 of page 32 of 182. So it's got the.
Oh, but I have all of them listed. Yeah. Just to show that that's the progression of the dates. So actually, we skipped this one, so we'll be at the end of where we were before.
You should be at 2021-24.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion regarding Resolution 21-24, which is the approval of the Metro Act permit for the Grand Traverse Band, Ottawa and Chippewa Indians of the Amendment Number 2?
I make that motion.
Support.
Okay, a motion made by Bartlett and support by Cook. Any further discussion? And we'll do a roll call vote.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
S. Cortade.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes. Okay, before I move on to public comment, did I miss any addenda item, you guys? Because we moved so much over. I think we've covered it all. So you can take a look, and if you do, just yell. So this is the last opportunity for public comment. If there's any public who would like to give public comment, please stand up and feel free to speak to the board. And I see none, so with that, if there are no objections, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.